So anyway, this is John Klebnik, and the purpose of our call today, we're going to talk about quoting in ACT software. And there we go. So specifically, as we've grown and as we've started to use more of ACT, we kind of realized we were outgrowing some parts of it. So we were doing our quotes in Excel and doing our quotes in Word, and I don't know, it took me a couple hours sometimes to get the right quote out and get it the way I wanted it. And so that launched kind of a search, and in the meantime, we saw them adding new features to ACT software, and we'll talk about some of those just in a bit as well. So specifically today's talk, we're going to talk about when we go from ACT, when we're going to start to use the other tools for our opportunities and for our quoting, and then we'll look at ACT. We'll talk about a couple other tools that are out there, and then I wanted to spend about half of our time showing you QuoteWorks, which is one that we use internally. It's an add-on to ACT, and we'll see how we go from there. So in terms of the sales cycle in ACT, and do me a favor, if anybody, just type into my chat window here and just tell me if my audio is okay, good or bad or anything, and I'll kind of keep going. But so ACT is typically a contact management piece. So we're going to track our relationships. Who do we talk to when? What do we talk about? And so, for example, when somebody calls, great, thank you. If somebody calls, I want to basically get information from them. I want to get their phone number, their name, city, state, zip, and so on. Typically, that's going to start our sales process. And so we might have a conversation. And in that conversation, we might want to find out where their needs are, what types of pain or what types of things they might be looking for. And we're also trying to gather maybe some demographic information. How'd you hear about us? Where are you from? How large are you? I would always tell people we've got just about 5 minutes or so to stick our head inside of that organization and triage or determine if that organization is a good fit for us. And the best example I could think of for this is the old movie, actually it's about 10 years old now, called Pearl Harbor. And in that movie there was a section of the movie after the bombing of Pearl Harbor where they set a nurse out onto the tarmac for the runway, and she had a tube of lipstick. And her job was to go to these patients that had been wounded in the attack and put a mark on their forehead, whether they needed to see a doctor right away, whether they could wait a while, or whether they couldn't make it and just keep them comfortable and give them some painkiller. And so she was triaging these patients as they came in. And a lot of times that first sales call, that's what we do. We triage them and we determine, is this a good fit for us? Is this a good fit for us right now? How should I align the resources of our sales organization around the needs of this particular client? And so that's what that first phone call is triage. And just like the nurse might be on the tarmac taking vital signs of the patients, you're going to take vital signs of your clients, or potential clients. Is this somebody that you want to work with? Is there a good chemistry between the two of you? Do their needs align with your need, or with your organization's ability to provide a service? What's the size of the opportunity? What's the likelihood that they're going to want to work with you? All of these things we're going to qualify, but capture these vital signs for that. And ACT is awesome for that. It's better than Outlook, better than Excel, better than notebooks. It's just a really good tool. And not only that, as we grow an organization and have organization that maybe they don't see each other all the time, if we develop some consistent processes by which we gather that information, it's really helpful. And so typically we'll say, okay, inside of ACT, we're going to keep the first part of this relationship, the top part of your funnel is going to go inside of ACT. And that might be, as you build the relationship, as you develop some trust with people, that part of stuff you're going to do inside of ACT. It's a good fit for ACT. Later on, once there is a deal that is apparent or obvious, you might grow, and we might want to do some quoting. And so ACT has a piece in it for quoting, and we'll look at that briefly. But what we found in the course of our workings was we outgrew that, and there were some limitations that we weren't really ready to or willing to accept. And so because of that, we looked for another quoting package, and that's when we found the QuoteWorks package, which is what I'll show you in just a bit. In the meantime, there's some other packages that were out there that I'm going to hit on briefly, but we won't really spend too much time. Basically, what they do is they enhance the ACT experience. They don't really create an entire new module. So we'll kind of keep going with that. I'm just trying to kick up my backup piece here, and we'll get going into our demo. All right, so back on the screen. Okay, so inside of ACT, here's some things that we see. ACT is a great contact management piece. It's a great tool for reminders, business processes, qualification of leads, working together as a team. But what I always tell people is ACT has some simpler tools for word processing, reporting, dashboards, emails, and quotations. And it's great that it has all of these things. They're not all the best in breed for that particular piece. For example, I would probably never use the ACT email client if I can use Outlook. I probably would not use the ACT word processor if I could use Microsoft Word. The dashboard in ACT is pretty good, but there's been some add-ons, specifically Topline Dash, that greatly increase the dashboard experience. And then for quotations, like I said, we like and utilize QuoteWorks. But there's a few others. We're going to spend some time on that. Okay, so for ACT quoting, I'm going to get out of my PowerPoint and just go over here to ACT and start this up. So ACT quoting is okay if your quotes are very simple, if you don't have a lot of products, and you don't need to send, to customize the whole experience. Quoting in ACT, in one of the earlier versions, they added a sales opportunities tab. And so here you see sales opportunities. And so, in its simplest sense, you could just create a new opportunity by going to your new button here and choosing new opportunity. And this inside of ACT, I can create, name the opportunity, give it a price, a products, and some other things. The problem with just creating an opportunity is I can't email this to somebody. I can't, I can't mail merge it. I can't write a report on it. So if I call this my big job, and I go and I can add a couple of products here straight from ACT. See, here's where I have to add my products. Put your price in and so on, and you go on and do another one. It's okay for simple quotes. It's okay, it's cheap, it's built in, there it is. When you're ready to go do your quote, under your Opportunity tab, here's Create a Quote. Let me assign it to a contact first, so I'll go back to Contacts and Add, and just pick Gracie. Now we'll go back to Opportunities and Create a Quote. And what this is going to do is it's going to mail merge a Word document with an embedded Excel spreadsheet. And I'll show you the template in just a second. But what that allows me to do, if I need to customize it, I can customize the Word part of it. I can't really customize the Excel part of it. So here's our quote as it came out. It's in Word. So I could customize everything above here, above this line. Here and up. I could customize. I can add my logo. I can change who it's from and to. And down at the bottom, I can customize the bottom. But I really can't do very much in the middle here. I can't add descriptions. I can't really add extra columns. I'm just kind of left with what I have there. So the top and the bottom, if I wanted to change this line at the bottom, I could do that. If I wanted to change everything up here, I could do that. But it's ready to go. It's in Word. If I wanted to send it to somebody, I could go to File and Send PDF, and they get my quote. Okay, so that's the ACT part of it. If you want to customize this, I haven't done it in a little while, so I would go to what I do with it. Well, you can customize that template. Sorry, I didn't look at that before I started this thing. But like I said, you can just customize the top or the bottom of it, and that's about it. Okay, back to this. Okay, other quoting tools, and there were at least 3 of them that I found. Quote Select R1 from Design R1. Basically what that lets me do is have more than one template that I can choose from. The invoice maker number 2 lets me customize the template and actually mail merge fields from the opportunity tab. So if you have a customized opportunity view and the contact view, you can merge both of those in with the quote maker number 2. And then Durkin, Jim Durkin has some really great tools built into Durkin Impact that can help you with quoting. Plus and minuses for each of those, I say that the top 2 are very basic. They're rather inexpensive. They do extend the functionality of ACT. In my opinion, I like the bang for the buck I got for the QuoteWorks package. Durkin is good, but it may be overkill for a lot of folks. It just will do an awful lot of things. If you're looking to really customize your sales process, Durkin has basically rewritten the entire user interface of ACT and changed everything about it. So more time in development, but boy, you can make it anything you want with that. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of get into QuoteWorks. These are just some screenshots, and then I'll show you in a little bit. QuoteWorks is a bolt-on to ACT, and so for example, I can start the relationship inside of ACT, and basically I meet somebody, I gather their demographic information, their phone number, their address, their city, state, zip. I put all that in ACT. I nurture the lead there in ACT. Once we have enough information to scope or we start to talk about pricing, then I can start a quote. And so we can take that quote and we can suck in the field information from the contact level inside of ACT, and we can use that. Don't know how to download, turn that off, let's turn that down. We can use that to create the sold to, ship to information and also the custom tab inside of QuoteWorks. And so you can bring in different fields from the contact level, you can bring in different contacts, you can search contacts from QuoteWorks and so on. The document items, which is the section we're looking at right now, basically we've got separate product tables, and it's real easy to add multiple products or multiple product tables. And you see right off the bat just a whole lot more options here than we had in the ACT piece. Sold to, ship to, so all these buttons here, you can search a contact, type a contact in, pull the current contact in, and you've got 3 different address fields: sold to, ship to, bill to, that you can have, and this is very configurizable. There's a product tab, and I'll show you this in just a bit, but you can have as many different product databases as you like. Each of them is an Access database or a SQL table in the back end, and so if you're selling IT, you can get your pricing from Dell or Tech Data or Ingram Micro, and actually there's real-time modules directly for that can bring that right in. And I'll show you this when we do our demo in a second. Quote Valet is a piece that we've started using. It's an additional piece to ACT, but you think about what a Constant Contact or a SwiftPage email does in terms of letting me see who clicked on an email. This lets me see who opened my email, who opened the attachments, who accepted it. You can even pay for product via this piece, and then it works across my whole team. So if I've got a sales team that geographically is spread across the whole country, and a lot of the folks that we do our ACT hosting for have a sales team that's spread out all over. It'd be real easy to see as a sales manager who's been sending quotes out, who's reading the quotes, where the different stages are just from this single dashboard. This dashboard is web enabled, so you can actually get to this dashboard from iPhones and iPads. So, a lot of times the timing of deals is very important. When people finally decide they want to go do something, they want action right away. And so we're notified right away when somebody accepts an order, when they pay for an order, when they view an order for the first time. And I can view all that right away from my phone, and there's even a place for them to dialogue with a question or so. So somebody might respond to one of my quotes with a question in the question and answer section. I can, on my phone, type in my response to that question. They go back, and that whole conversation is tracked. Now, it's not being tracked inside of ACT. We typically will handle the deal and the quoting piece in QuoteWorks, and then QuoteWorks is going to push the contact or push the sales opportunity back, push the deal back to ACT in terms of making a new sales opportunity, creating a history, and then attaching both the QuoteWorks document file and a PDF all to the ACT record for reference later on. So it's really good in the sense that when the lead is ready to be quoted, We pull the data out of ACT, work on it in QuoteWorks, then push it back as an opportunity so that we can get to it later. Then the Quote Valet piece is this reporting piece. So Quote Valet, what it lets me do, knows when quotes are received, allows quote customers to sign documents electronically, and we can also accept credit card payments through Quote Valet, and we do that here at Tandem. Security is quite extensive, so I can have security set up for inside sales, outside sales. On the left-hand side here, you see all the things I can turn on and off on a per-user basis. So I can give people rights to delete their stuff, to delete other people's stuff, to work on the behalf of somebody else, to borrow a quote from somebody else, to see somebody else's quote, or I can say they can't do all of those things. And then if you look here on some of these things under group membership, you can have different teams. And so I can have an executive team that has a certain suite of permissions, an inside sales team with a set of permissions, outside, and so on. And this is all customizable. We've got a group that has about 25 salespeople. 5 are in Houston, and the other 20 are in home offices around the country, and they do about 200-something quotes a day. And these guys are in it all day long. And inside might do a quote, outside guy will finish it, the outside guy might phone in the quote, the inside guy will do it, the outside guy will send it out. The East Coast guy might grab the quote that the West Coast guy did, modify it, put his name on it, his new customer on it, and send it out. So it's real interchangeable. It's also going to give your organization consistency in their branding. So all my quotes tend to look the same. We're not having anybody do rogue pricing. We can specify what pricing range they can quote on. There's even a feature in here for you to circulate the quote for management approval before it is ordered and sent out. So a lot of neat things with this. I will say this in terms of our experience with QuoteWorks. We started working with QuoteWorks in 2008, and we started hosting QuoteWorks later that year. And we went to them just out of necessity, and we'd used other quoting packages in the past. But what really has impressed us about them, and it's not intended to be a commercial, but their support and their innovativeness in terms of the product has been really exceptional. They've taken care of us. They've had people work on problems when we have them. They release a lot of updates and a lot of new features, and so they're always thinking about it. And we've just been really happy with that so far. In terms of ideas, they're a small enough group that a new idea isn't far from the developers. One of the other things that's in here I'll show you, but this is just a screenshot. They have a piece called the configurator, and this is kind of neat. A lot of times as we have people get on to start with sales roles in our organizations, it takes a while for them to understand our process and what piece goes with which other piece, and when do I need this widget with that piece of product. And this is kind of a wizard, for lack of a better word, that can drop you through, what are my options at this stage. And it really helps folks. It requires less superhero level expertise in the terms of your sales staff, which means that your quotes go out looking more consistent. There's less of a chance of mistakes and errors. Increases the value of the brand because of consistency in terms of your clients. We can send it out through the Quote Valet piece, which is this right here. They get a hyperlink. They can click that, and they can approve the quote online. You get reporting back to you. Once they do that, you can also send it as a PDF, either through the Outlook on your machine or the built-in SMTP email client within QuoteWorks. This is one of the quote dashboards, and I just copied this off their website just to give you an idea. You can see the quotes that are there, how old they are, how many quotes have been sent today. You can do it by sales rep. And look at here's my pipeline: quotes sent, quotes accepted, quotes paid, top dollar quotes, top dollar orders, number of customer views, customer comments. You can manage a lot of customer interaction with this, and it's all in one place. I'll give you this example. We bought a phone system a few years ago, and I had one guy with me at the time named Dwayne, and we had one phone, and the way we'd transfer a call is I would throw the wireless phone across the room to him. So somebody'd call and ask for Dwayne. I'd say, hey, Dwayne here, and I'd throw the phone, and he'd catch it and pick up the phone. And we had grown to the point where we realized we needed a phone system. And so I said, hey, Dwayne, why don't you call up and get us some quotes on a phone system? And so he called, and within an hour, we had all these phone calls. Hey, let me sell you a phone system. Well, we weren't ready. It was a decision that can be deferred. And so we didn't buy right away. In fact, we didn't buy for over a month, but we still needed that phone system. About a month later, there was only one guy still calling us up, and we were still so busy to keep shopping, we just gave the business to him. And one of the things that this can let us do, let's say you've got a sales cycle like that. We've got a client that sells the trailers for circuses and carnivals. And these guys are out on the road all the time, and you never really know when they're in the office or they have email. And so you might send them a quote, and they kind of go silent for a year or two because they can put it off. They saw how much it was. They're not ready to buy it yet. Well, the cool thing about the Quote Valet, which is this add-on component to QuoteWorks, is if somebody starts to, it's like going fishing. You can leave a line in the water, and once a fish starts to hit that line, the line starts to wiggle the pole, and you know you've got a fish. Well, with the Quote Valet, we know when somebody's reading our quotes, and that shows up on this dashboard, and we can call them up and go, hey, I was thinking about you today. And you don't have to do it in a creepy way, but it really is a helpful way to see when people are starting to look at your quotes and maybe when they're ready to talk to you again. And that's been a really nice thing as opposed to bothering people when they're not ready to look at it. So that's my little PowerPoint. Let me kind of hop back over and show you the QuoteWorks piece. Let me make sure it works. I just did a reinstall of this from scratch. So here I've got a contact inside of ACT. Let me go back to here. And there's Lance Parker. I go to QuoteWorks, sold to, shipped to. We'll see if it works. Boom, there's Lance Parker. So right off that, it sucks in the current contact from ACT. If you want, you could search. And so if I wanted to find somebody else, I could do that, or it shows me the other one. It brings in secondary contacts if you want. So if I want to search and I wanted to look from, anybody from CH, there they all are. I can say, well, how about we choose Sarah, and we put her down as the bill to. And so now you've got all that. So that brings in my sold to, shipped to information. Document items, this is kind of neat. I'm going to minimize this stuff over here, but you see on the right-hand side, they've got a getting started piece and this interactive quick start guide, which is kind of neat because there's a bit of a learning curve here. The nice thing we found about the QuoteWorks package is it is well supported and very well documented. So it's something that for a lot of folks, you can kind of crawl and walk and run into the thing. Okay, so this is the Documents tab, and you can either type something in, you can make your columns wider, whatever there, or we can just go to the Products tab. And so this is a demo database products. It's built around video equipment, and so if I expand, you can see different things. So if you're going in, you think, well, I'm going to sell this entertainment center, and so I go, well, here's the entertainment center, and there's a speaker, and I double-click, and I can change my price here and add it, and maybe I want to add a projector, and I'm just picking things at random. But it's pretty neat. Now, as you're doing this, let's say we go here to these DVDs, and you pick one. If there is any previous history with this, you can click these two buttons. Here's the price history for this particular customer, or here's the prices for this item. So if I had a bunch of quotes with this particular item on it, you would see this whole thing filled out with the pricing history. So we can see trends, we can see what's been going on, we can see our history of pricing for this product with this one person, and it's really powerful. So you go ahead and you finish what you want there. You want to do a warranty, add that in, put an HDTV, add that in. You can change the quantity here. So the cool thing about this, okay, I didn't spend much time on that, but here's my quote. If you wanted to make a new quoting table, it's as simple as going to the products table, and here under Setup Product Sources, you can import one. There's a video on how to do it. It's pretty neat. Okay, so here's my quote. And one thing I might want to do is I might want to put a comment line. So I can go over here, I can right-click, I can choose Insert Comment, and I might say option 1. And then I can do, well, let's take these. Maybe I want to sell this as a bundle. Click those, right click, go to group or Control G. And now I've made a bundle. So now I'm listing the individual products. I don't have to show them the prices per product. In fact, let's go take a look real quick. If I go to deliver and just preview, you can see what my quote looks like. There I have a place for our face. I've got our information. Here's all my quotes. Now this is out of the box, okay? 10 minutes before we started, I installed this for the first time. So if I wanted to change this to my logo, put my picture in there, all I've got to do is find the files. Everything else, put my products in, I'd be ready to go. You could probably get this ready to go, you know, if you did the out-of-the-box stuff in less than an hour. It's pretty neat for that, and then you can kind of grow it from there. But you saw when I did that, when I went back to delivery and preview, you see I didn't see all my detailed pricing. I see option number 1, I see my bundle, and then I don't see any of the detail. I can change that just by, you know, let's say I took this bundle away, go back to deliver, go back to preview, and now I've got all my prices. It handles recurring costs, so if you're doing a monthly thing, you can do that, and it'll show me the monthly recurring prices there. And there's also some, you know, you can customize these layouts. So let me show you another layout. Here I can do one inside of Word. I hit preview. It'll fire up Microsoft Word, and let's see what happens when we're done. There it is. Oh, there it goes over there. Hold on. Okay, so this is a little nicer looking. If you've got a nice looking Word template, put that back down 100. You know, so I've got other. This is a full proposal. If you send them out this way. So here's the detail of my quote put into a table, but then the rest of this is just part of a Word document. There's my services agreement, and it's all part of that ready to go. That's just part of the template. Other things you can do, here's a notes tab, and so I can have different things like my terms and conditions or introduction. I might say, you know, quote's good for 30 days. Here's the terms of the support we give, and you've got a section here for introduction notes, closing notes, purchasing notes, internal notes. We also have an additional tab for you to use additional fields. So all of these additional fields can be sucked right out of ACT if you wanted to, or you can type them in directly once you get here. So let me pause for a second. I'm seeing a couple of questions. Let me read these and see if I can answer these while we're going. So a couple of them, QuoteWorks and additional currencies. Let me see if I can show you. Back to the products tab, I'm going to pick one of these products right here, right click, edit item. And so these are all the different fields associated with a product. So the general tab, I've got part numbers, descriptions, manufacturers, internal, external part numbers, pricing. So I can base my pricing. Maybe I can say it's a fixed cost. Maybe I want to say it's a percent, the cost is a % off of list. I can choose that there. I can put in my discount, and that calculates automatically. But here's a section based upon based pricing upon foreign currency. So the question was, can QuoteWorks produce quotes in other currencies? Yes. In fact, our company I told you about a second ago, they've got a couple of sales guys that are in Canada, and so they work in the same QuoteWorks database in Canadian currency, and the other guys that are U.S.-based work in U.S. currency. And so you can change, here's foreign cost, foreign price, foreign list. And then I believe I'm going to have a hard time remembering this from scratch, but there is a place where we can see if I can find it. I won't spend any time looking, but there's a place where you can actually customize exchange rates inside of here. So I'll take too long if I try to find it, but that's a feature too. So if you have an Excel spreadsheet with 10 tabs of pricing, you can import it or link it. So when you go to make your products tab, if you go to File, Set up Product Sources, and let me just choose New. Here's my choices. I can choose all these different sources for data. I can bring this in from Ingram Micro, from Excel, from Access. So Bridget, they send us our ACT price list in Excel. As long as it's a normalized text file, you can bring that in, and you can specify which sheet you're getting stuff from. You can also bring this in from QuickBooks and Peachtree. And so if your current product lists are in QuickBooks or Peachtree, you can link to those and suck the products right out of them. And consequently, once the quote becomes an order, becomes a deal, look at, they're not on this one, but there's a QuickBooks button if you have the integration set up, and it will push those quotes right to QuickBooks. It'll both send invoices and purchase orders and sales orders over to QuickBooks directly from QuoteWorks. They're linked right out of the box. So ODBC connection, direct link, import, all of those things can work to populate your product list. All right, so what other stuff can we talk about here? I'm going to try to give you a quick tour of some of the other things. And the deliver button is kind of neat. So once I've found one, I can pick my template. You can pick a cover page. So you can either make one. Here's a simple cover page. Literature, here's information about our company. Maybe I want to do our company terms and conditions or our company resume. And then spec sheets. Now spec sheets are kind of cool because if a product has a spec sheet, it shows up here as an option. So if you have products that don't have a spec sheet, you see nothing here. If all of your products do have spec sheet, you'll see them here, and you can check. You'll see little check boxes for the ones that you want to include. Links to linked documents on your network, you can do that. When you're done, you hit email, and it sends them all as a PDF. So that's that part of it. The quote valet I haven't set up here, but here's what it would. Here's the dashboard. There's nothing in here. Here's the quote we just made. You can kind of click that and go to it. Now the neat thing about this, let me go save this. Actually, that was not. That's the one that's the one that came with it. Let me go save my quotes. This is this quote to Lance. You see up at the top here it says untitled, unsaved. As soon as I hit save, I just leave the default here. I'm going to tell, this is QuoteWorks saving backwards to ACT. So I'm going to say, okay, we're going to make a follow-up phone call, and we're going to create an opportunity. Hit save. This is my opportunity. I can go, these are ACT opportunity fields that it's filling out. Put a competitor if you want, then click OK. And this is the ACT follow-up phone call. I'm just going to say from this one, from QuoteWorks. Click OK. Now watch, we'll go back to ACT. And here for Lance Parker, we have an activity. Right there. Okay, sorry. If you open it up, it says under details from QuoteWorks. I lost it for a second there. So that's my opportunity that I just made. And then, I'm sorry, that's my activity. Here's my opportunity. And you'll see that here's the quote number, AAAQ1001. That's the QuoteWorks quote number. So if you double-click that opportunity here, it takes you to the opportunity that's been brought in. Under products, you should be able, in fact, you can tell it to display your individual products here, or it makes one single product called a QuoteWorks product, QuoteWorks roll-up product that summarizes all of them. Under history, here's the opportunity was made, so it makes that history. And then back at the contact level, under documents, you see the quote's been attached. And actually, when I go back and if I email this quote out, it will attach the email with the PDF there. So it's kind of neat there. Let's see if there's anything else I really need to tell you about right now. That was kind of our overview of this. There's reports here. The back end of this, and this leads to a question I just got from David on the standard and the corporate editions. Honestly, I'd say go look at the QuoteWorks website. Let me see if I can bring that up for you here. But there's several versions. There's a standard, a professional, and a corporate edition of QuoteWorks. And then there are add-ons to QuoteWorks that you can get, like the Quote Valet or like something called Elitize. So if you want to see kind of the differences, here's standard, professional, corporate, and so on. Mostly we do the corporate, and here's some things that it does. I mean, as you go down the list here, if you just look at this page, I'll put this page into the chat window for you to see. So if you want to take a look at that, that's the difference between the different versions. Some of the bigger organizations use the corporate edition because we can link it to SQL. We can put a SQL backend in on it, which, you know, for just masses. Our one client has, I think, 250,000 quotes in their quoting package, and so they need the more robust. The other two have a Microsoft Access backend, and for typically for teams of 5 to 10 or so, the Access backend is just fine. If you go above that, or if you just have a lot of volume or large size of quotes, you can do that. Act Premium for Web's a special problem. With Act Premium for Web, you can pull a contact in and you can save the quote back, but the quote database does not get updated at the master. It will sync the QuoteWorks DTF file up to the main installation. We do a lot, for folks that do a lot of quoting, one of the things with QuoteWorks that I'd say takes it from, it can make it more complex to implement is synchronization. It does synchronize, but in order to keep that QuoteWorks installation syncing and everybody looking at the same stuff all the time is sometimes more effort than most of your average sales guys have. And so what we have done a lot with in our hosted implementation is we put QuoteWorks in our data center and deliver it over Citrix. And so then you've got your QuoteWorks, your Act, your QuickBooks all in the same place, and there's no synchronizing involved, and it's a lot easier to implement. My general rule of thumb with salespeople is the more complex the solution, the more chances that it can get unraveled, and when it gets unraveled, people lose faith in it. When people lose faith in it, they stop using it. So we have a lot of folks using hosted QuoteWorks where they just log in and there's all their stuff. So Act for Web kind of falls under that category. If you wanted to keep your QuoteWorks synced up with another QuoteWorks, it's a little bit of a challenge. If you're just trying to use your QuoteWorks out of the box and attach the quotes when you're done, I think it can be okay. We haven't done a lot with Act for Web and QuoteWorks because of the limitations. So a lot of folks that have come to us that use Act for Web because of the need to be mobile, we go ahead and host both of those over Citrix. So that's the gist of that. But you can, David, inside of QuoteWorks, right under here under Contacts, and set up Contact Manager. These are all the different contact managers in addition to Act that you can configure QuoteWorks for. So if you use Outlook or Peachtree or Salesforce or Sugar, or here's Act for Web, it can be configured right here. And there's just some limitations. Specifically, you know, my biggest concern would be if you've got a lot of salespeople and you all need to keep the same product list, the same templates, the same layouts and things like that. All of those things don't travel with Act for Web. You'd have to keep those up to date, and they don't even all synchronize. So there's some IT guy related procedures that you'd have to follow to try to keep that up and going. But if you're just trying to attach the quote back into Act and let everybody manage their own QuoteWorks installation, I think it can be okay for Act for Web. All right, that is my talk. This is John Klubnik. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.